Hi, I'm Kaylin and your host of the Motherhood Library podcast. I wanted to create a YouTube channel to document my experience with creating a podcast with ADHD, 2 under 2, 6 months postpartum, zero experience. I've never made content, never edited anything in my life. So I wanted to take you behind the scenes of what it looks like to create a business or a podcast for myself. So hopefully this resonates with somebody, and hopefully I'm able to help somebody else who feels like they aren't able to start or live out their dreams. I want to discuss like why I'm creating this podcast, how I'm doing it with time management. I want to discuss like what I have learned about podcast making and content creation to hopefully help somebody else out who's in the thick of it. I also want to explain how much I've spent on it because I really haven't spent that much. And it's just whenever I would look up videos or how to's on YouTube, Instagram, podcast creating, anything that I've ever seen about it, it just to me, it felt overwhelming and I didn't know where to start. So I want to just give somebody else an idea of how to do it themselves so that you can also create a podcast yourself too. With that being said, first I'll dive into why I'm creating this podcast. So it's the Motherhood Library. You can find it on Spotify. I'll probably be dropping videos on this YouTube channel as well. So with that being said, is like the podcast is my vision for the podcast is to create a safe space for women to come and tell their stories. So when I got pregnant, I just didn't know as much as I thought I did, even though I was surrounded by babies and birthing, and I have a lot of kids in my family. And even with that, I still don't feel like I knew very much about it. And so as I read and learned so much more, I was like, wow, if only we were like sitting down and there was one spot where we just told our stories. And so that's kind of where the idea came from, is I just wanted to I feel like there's so much that women can learn from each other. I mean, and men too, but because I'm a mom, I'm pretty biased in what I want to hear and what I have to say. I don't have the man's experience and I don't have his perspective. So this is just a starting point. I hope to one day like have a fatherhood podcast or a parenthood or whatever it is. So whenever I hear the word mother, I don't really think of just a physical mom, like somebody who birthed their own child. I think of somebody who is a caregiver, who's a nurturer, who's a lover, who kind of like how we think of Mother Earth in that way of like, it's much more broader to me. It's like us as women, whether you have kids or not, your stepmom, you choose not to have kids or anything. Like, I feel like we can still all learn from each other. And I do relate it back to motherhood a lot because that's what I am and that's my experience and that's where I'm at in this point in my life. I'm really in the thick of all of it right now. So, yeah, and then another aspect of why I thought that this would be a good podcast to create is so I've heard from a lot of women who they have a certain like niche about their motherhood journey. Like I'm 2 under 2. I have my sister who has a nonverbal toddler, but it's also really hard when you're in the thick of it. Like you don't really want to be boxed down. Like I don't want to just learn from autistic moms. I don't want to just learn from new moms. I don't want to just learn from like a specific type of person. And that's what I was being fed through my social media and my algorithm. So with this podcast, it's a collection of women's stories from all walks of life. So it's going to be new moms, seasoned moms, moms who are stepmoms, people working moms, stay-at-home moms, people who decided not to be moms at all, authors, celebrities, anybody that is willing to come and tell their story. I feel like we can learn from. Like one of the first few interviews that I did do was with an author who wrote a book while working a 9 to 5 job, who does not have kids. And so much of what she talked about was like so insightful for me as a mom. And also, she talks about her own mother and how she was a working mom and how she didn't feel like she really missed out. Like her mom, even though she was working, she didn't feel like she missed out on any of her life. Like she was there for all of the times that mattered. And I clipped it down and I was like, this is so important for women to hear. Because one of the main things that I hear with starting this podcast is like, how do working moms do it? How do you find time to work and take care of your kids? How do you not deal with mom guilt of having to decide between a family event or work? Because like my sister, she had to take off Mother's Day from work, which is such a busy day for the restaurant. And she had to take that day off of making money just so she can hang out with her kids on a family. They were going to go do like a family day. And it is really hard when you're in it. And so just to hear the wisdom from other people on how they navigated it, or to hear the wisdom of people who they also are in the thick of it. They also don't have any like resources or explanations that they can give, any advice that they can give. And just to know that like other people are in it too. You're not alone in this feeling. You're not a bad mom for feeling this way or thinking this way. So yeah, anyways, that's kind of like the gist of where I was going with this podcast. Um, and why now? I get asked that a lot. I have two under two. I am a stay-at-home mom. I am 6 months postpartum, really in the thick of it right now. And it's because this message is too important for me to put off any longer. I've wanted to create a podcast that has to do with this sort of thing for like the past 10 years, but especially the past 5. And then in the past 2 years since becoming a mom, I was like, now's the time. I got to get this out there. Well, then with my daughter, she just was like extra clingy. My husband was working from home, so I didn't really have any time or space to myself to talk to the camera. And I am really insecure about that. I don't feel comfortable with anybody else listening to me right now. It's only my 6-month-old sitting right here next to me, and even that is making me nervous. And so it just, everything was kind of getting in my way. And something that really stuck with me was Jocko. I've listened to him for years, and 8 years ago he came out with a podcast episode that said excuses are lies. Absolutely amazing. You should definitely go and watch. And I've kind of based my life off of that ever since. If I find an excuse or a reason not to do something, I kind of dive into it deeper. Like, what is really holding me back from actually doing this? So I looked at what was my excuse? What was my reason behind not getting this done? And I really dove into what can I do to overcome that? What can I do to make this happen? And one is my kids are attached to me. And honestly, that's just motherhood. I don't feel like there ever really is going to be a time where I'm given a little bit more personal space. So if I let that hold me back, then I'm going to put off this message for way too long. And I feel like it's way too important. So hopefully you guys are okay with hearing some background noise. Sorry in advance. You're going to hear it. Maybe one day I'll have a little bit of personal space and a little bit of personal time. The next thing is my husband listening to me. So now I just plan it around times that she's marching and singing. Doesn't help that I'm in the playroom right now. Okay, the next like excuse or reason was my husband being home. And although it is intimidating and it makes me really nervous, even doing this right now while he's out there, it's just this message is too important. We got to just get it done. And it is what it is. The next thing is, the equipment. Oh my gosh, the equipment was a huge thing holding me back. And I'm so glad I started looking into it on my own instead of listening to YouTubers and podcasters and Instagram posts and TikTok posts, because I spent $10 on this mic and it comes with two. So I'm able to interview somebody else in person if I wanted to. I did spend $18 on Zoom, because then I would be able to do longer videos than just the 40 minutes that it allows right now. That was $18 a month. The next thing is, instead of that, I could use Riverside, and Riverside I think was like 100 and something for like a year. It wasn't too bad, but that's also not necessary. If you're trying to start out cheap, you could do short videos and not spend any money, except, you could just not spend any money. You could just get Zoom 40 minutes per video and you're good. If you wanted to do in person, $10, done. If you wanted to do longer form, $20 on Zoom. What else is there? Also, like the room setup. I feel like that was something really holding me back, was my environment. And so I don't have a space to myself right now. We have a 3-bedroom. My husband has his own office because he works from home. And we have like a bedroom / playroom for the babies. And that's what I'm using right now. And then I have my actual bedroom. And so it's just, I don't have a place to like have the chair set up and the camera set up and like this desk and all of these different things. And that's okay. I'm just sitting against the wall and we're calling it good for now. What else did I spend money on? Hi, buddy. I will say a link tree. That is something that's also a little bit pricey. It's $12 a month or 144, I think, for the year. That checks out. 12 times 12. Anyways, it's 144 for the year. That's a bit pricey, but right now I don't have anything else that I'm really spending money on. So to me, $12 a month for now is okay. I think it might be 15 if you do it monthly. We'll have to look into that a bit better. Today is actually when it ends, so hopefully I can get that in. And YouTube is free. Instagram's free. Spotify is free. Spotify creators is how I get my podcast onto Spotify, and that's free. So in total, so far, without doing the link tree, with only doing Zoom and the microphone, I've only spent like maybe $25. So yeah, this is your sign to not let anything stop you. Oh, shoot. You're on my iPhone, but I do have a ring light. Let's see, this, it was like maybe $5 or $6 on Amazon, which I hate using Amazon. Don't use Amazon if you can avoid it. Ask a friend. I feel like everybody has a ring light of some sort these days. You can also find them thrifting, find them secondhand on Marketplace. Worst case, you go to Amazon and you buy it. As a mom of two, I don't like getting in the car. I don't like meeting at people's houses if I can avoid it. And oh, the tripod. You can easily set up on something and record. I did buy a tripod like a long time ago, so I'm not really counting that as a startup cost. Again, you can borrow one from somebody. Everyone has tripods these days. You could set up randomly on something. You can check Marketplace, you can check the thrift stores. But I did purchase this one. I think it was like $25. So, okay, now we're at like $55 for my startup cost. Don't tell my husband that. But yeah, I think that that's pretty much all that I have. I just wanted to come on and start this YouTube channel, give it a starting ground. I want to try and post each day. It's going to be just behind the scenes of my podcast plus podcast episodes. So it's going to be just me telling you what's going on. It may be like a vlog. It may be what I eat in a day. It may be how I get things done time management wise with my kids. It's going to be behind the scenes of interviews and how I edit and how I do go about all this stuff. Again, just trying to give an inside perspective to how I do it as a mom so that I can hopefully encourage somebody else to also start their own podcast channel, their own YouTube channel, their own content creation of some sort. Now, I'm not making any money off of this, and that's not my goal. I feel like women's stories are so important. What we learn from women is so important, and that's my main focus. If I make no money, I'm a stay-home mom already. I do need money. Okay, we're not rich, but and I will eventually have to go back to work. But I'm soaking it in while I can, and this is not about money. But if I do happen to make money, I will be showing that on here just to give a little bit insight of like how I did that, because that's also really intimidating. There's so many different streams of income between TikTok and monetizing stuff and affiliate links and all of those different things. I definitely am going to try and be as transparent as possible with showing how I do that. And hopefully I can one day, but again, that's not my main goal. My main goal is these women's stories are way too important and we can learn so much from each other. And yeah, so I think that that's all the time I have today. My daughter is needing lunch. My son is starting to get active and I'm getting hungry myself. So hopefully this resonates with somebody and hopefully you're able to learn something and you get the encouragement to start your own podcast or YouTube channel yourself. And if you do have any questions that I'm able to answer, please drop them in the comments down below. Please subscribe. I really appreciate you being here from day one. And yeah, have a good day. Bye.